So why do we care about populations and statistics? The reason why we care about populations is because the purpose of collecting a data set is usually to learn something about a population of people. For example, if I went up to 100 different iPhone users and asked them how much text messaging they do each week, I'm probably not interested in learning about those 100 specific people. I'm probably interested in learning something about the entire iPhone user population. So a person who collects data from a group of people is usually trying to learn something about the entire population that group of people comes from. So how does a person collect data to learn about a population? Well, in a perfect world, a researcher would collect data from every member of the population that he or she is studying. The reason why is because if you collect data from all members of a population, you get perfectly accurate information about that population. Think about this. If I'm interested in the average or mean GPA of all college students in the US, and I go out and I record the GPAs of all 20,642,819 college students in the US, I could use that data to actually calculate the exact average GPA of the entire US college student population. I would just have to add all of my answers and then divide the total by 20,642,819, and then I would have the exact average. So if you collect data from all population members, you get perfectly accurate information about the population. The problem is that most populations that people are interested in studying are so large that it's not possible to collect data from all members of the population. You can imagine how difficult it would be, or how time-consuming it would be, to collect data from all college students in the US. So typically it's not possible to collect data from all members of a population, either because it's too time-consuming, it's too expensive, or it's not even possible because some members of the population can't be contacted or reached. Maybe some people in the population don't have a phone or don't have an email address. So instead of collecting data from all members of a population, the researcher almost selects a certain number of volunteers and then collects data from those people only. The selected group of people or participants that participate in the study and provide data to the researcher are called a sample of the population. So if I'm interested in whether college students in the US aren't getting enough sleep, and I go out and I find 100 college students who are willing to take my survey, and I ask each of those 100 people how many hours of sleep they're getting per night, those 100 people are my selected sample of college students. They're the selected group of people that I'm collecting data from, and all 20 million college students in the US are the population that I'm trying to learn about. So what I'm doing is I'm collecting data from the members of my sample to try to learn something about the population that they belong to. Let's look at a diagram of taking the sample from the population. The population is the entire category of people that I'm trying to learn about, and the sample is the selected group that I actually collect data from. The other members of the population who are outside of the sample don't provide data to the researcher, so their data values are actually unknown. Here are some examples of selecting a sample from a population. If a person records the GPAs of 75 Stanford students to learn about how well Stanford students are doing in their classes, then the population that's being studied is all Stanford students. This researcher is trying to reach a conclusion about Stanford students. The sample is the 75 selected Stanford students who are providing data to the researcher by taking the survey. If another person is interested in how much money is being earned by Google employees, if that person goes out and finds 100 Google employees who are willing to take a survey, and those 100 people tell the researcher how much money they're earning, then Well, the population that's being studied is Google employees because the researcher is interested in reaching a conclusion about Google employees, and the sample is just the 100 selected Google employees who are actually taking the survey and providing data to the researcher. What if I'm interested in whether college students in the US are getting enough sleep, and I ask 130 college students how many hours of sleep they're getting? Well, in that case, I'm collecting data from a sample of 130 college students to try to learn something about the population of all college students in the US. So, in a research study, the sample is the group of people that participates in the study and provides the data, and the population is the entire group of people that the researcher is trying to reach a conclusion about. Now we'll talk about the idea of sample size. In a research study, the sample size is the number of population members that are included in the sample. Let's find the sample size in each of our 3 earlier examples. If a person is recording the GPAs of 75 Stanford students, then the 75 people that data has been collected from are the sample, and the sample size is 75. If a person is recording the incomes of 100 Google employees, then the sample includes the 100 Google employees, and the sample size is just 100. So the sample size is just the number. If a person is recording the hours slept per day by 130 college students, then the 130 people are all members of the sample, and the sample size is just 130.